Hello, welcome to my new video, and today I'm showing a game from the beginning of 2011 when I played my first game against GM. And this game is a classic example of how not to play, how mentality should not be during the game. During this game I was so afraid that I was facing a GM. It was the first round, and I wasn't entirely prepared, but my mentality was in general very wrong, and I was giving too much respect to my opponent, and you'll see what I mean by that. Let's begin. So at this point I played the French instead of the Petrov, and my opponent played really wise. Really, this variation can be really unpleasant for black if he doesn't know what he's doing. And in this case, I wasn't sure what to do. I knew a couple of moves, but I didn't know plans in general. So this is the famous King's Indian attack in the French. And white usually develops like this, tries to go rook e1, e5, knight f1, h4, knight h2, and then trying to go for some offensive on the king side. And black has to decide what to do against this potential attack. Does he want to keep his pawns on the 7th rank, or does he want to play h6 at some point, which invites some sacrifices on h6? So in general, I think it's the best to keep these pawns on the 7th rank if nothing is threatened. So now rook e1, and now my only chance is to go for something on the queen side. I went for b5, knight f1 like I said, and now I just went a5 automatically. He goes for h4. His idea is to go knight h2 and knight g4, start pushing h5, and then trying to provoke my response with h6 or f6 like I played in the game. So here I played a4, trying to expand on the queen side, but he just plays a3. I played b4 to open up somehow this position on the queen side. He goes knight from f1 to h2. I went knight b6, which I don't like when I look at it, but my idea was maybe to go bishop a6, which I changed in the last moment, but my point is that after bishop a6 immediately, he would have captured on b4, and then a4 would be loose. So I wanted to protect a4. I played this, but then all of a sudden I switched plans. I played bishop d7, which is strange. I think that bishop a6 here is much sounder plan. But I wanted to keep e6 protected in case I play f6 or f5, which was, we'll see later, a really wrong decision. In this case of bishop a6, if he plays h5, I would just keep pushing on the queen side and try somehow to open up there and to switch the focus from the king side to the queen side. But nevertheless, I played bishop d7, he plays h5, and now I should have just kept the position, and still I think that c4 is a good move here. And my idea is on d4 I would play c3 and break this position open on the queen side. If he takes, I can pick now, maybe to take on a3, which also looks good, or just to take on c3, and then to invade the c4 square. And I wasn't considering really h6 because it allows some nasty threats on h6. Not immediately, maybe. He can just play bishop f4, queen d2, and maybe then take on h6. I wasn't really glad about that. So I wasn't so happy to push h6. Instead I played f5, and here if he moves back, if he doesn't take en passant, then my position is okay because the attack is less dangerous and I would focus on the queen side. But he takes on f6, and now his focus would be on e6 pawn. I took with the bishop, which from this perspective is a bad move, I think, because with gf at least the e5 square is protected, so still there is a weakness on e6, but at least there's no weakness on e5 square. So I think that's a slightly more accurate way to go, but it's still not pleasant for black. Bishop took on f6, and now he executes his plan from the beginning, h6. I went g6, and now my king feels a little bit unsafe. He puts his knight to e5, and here I just rushed with bishop e5. I think that with this I would still be worse, but I would at least keep my bishop, which is crucial for defending this poor king. I took immediately. I don't know why. If you ask me why, I cannot give you a rational answer. I was just panicking here. Knight e5, takes, and now queen f6, and he just defends f2 and his rook with queen e2. I went rook c8, bishop g5. Now he's just improving his pieces to the maximum, because now he's gonna put his other rook to e1, bishop on h3, and I'm just busted completely. I have to defend like this. Rook e1, takes, king h8, I don't know why. I was just giving too much respect to my opponent, and that's the reason why I played f5 in the first place. I thought that he had something thought of, you know? And I just collapsed after f5. Now after bishop f4, he wants to just move his rook somehow to e3, let's say, and then go bishop e5, and to create all sorts of threats to my king. I played the rook e8, and now I thought I was catching some break, but now he has this nice blow with c4. He's now fixing my c5 pawn, which is very weak, and I played d4, and now he just switches back to his bishop, because he did his job on h3, and now I have to go back. Now queen b2. Now he's switching from the king side and the center to the queen side. And now if I go back to a8, that just looks terrible. But I think that should be the best way to go. I mean, you can take, and rook c5, and then d4 is hanging, so even that is very bad. I played rook b8, and now the c5 pawn is lost. And when I took on c4, he just has a simple tactic, queen d4, and in this position I resigned because I'm losing way too many pawns, and I think I'm not able to avoid losing even more material. Because if I try something like e5 to save my knight, he can simply take, and after some moves like this, I cannot capture because queen e5 loses the rook on b8. And also, if I move my king to g8 to avoid any discoveries, I must face bishop d5, and now if bishop e6, you take twice. And now the rook is not for grabs because queen g7 is checkmate. And that's why I resigned, because I knew that he saw that, of course. He's a GM, goddammit. And here you go. This is how I lost in my first game against the Grandmaster, and I hope that you learned something from this game. But I think that the most important thing that you have to learn from this game is that don't be afraid of anyone. Anyone can make a mistake. Anyone can overlook some idea. So if you don't see what your opponent is doing, maybe he's not doing anything. Maybe he's just bluffing, or maybe he's just overlooking something. Have a great day and goodbye.